when we say things like that about Caesar and talking about America and the end of an oligarchy, people will usually start assuming that we're talking about Republicans who are an oligarchy. Because Republicans are the party of the rich. But they're not. And Republicans haven't been a party of the rich in I don't know how long. Not that there aren't rich Republicans, there are, but Republicans are really the party of the middle class, or at least they used to be. Broadly speaking. But with Trump, Republicans have kind of become the working class party. And people will say, oh, they're the party for the whites, maybe. Maybe. It's always definitely been the party of white men. Since it's been around anyway. There's no denying that, but you'll find a lot of black, Hispanic, other ethnicities, men who are pro-Republican or are Republican. If you don't believe me, just go look at an electoral map showing how the election goes if only men vote. There would have been nary a Democrat winner for the presidency since, I think maybe Clinton was the only one who would have come close. It's a wipeout. But yeah, the party of men, sure. Yeah, the Republicans are the party of men. Yep, absolutely. But Trump is not a movement. I don't even know if Reagan was really a movement. Trump, like so many men in history, is not the movement. Trump is a symptom of that feeling I was talking about. That one era is ending or is over. I think we can say it's over. He's a symptom of it. He's not the cause. Trump is the man that's given voice to the people that have that sense and kind of don't know what to do about it. But one of the things that they do know is that these people, the Make America Great Again people, the MAGA people, maybe MAGA's a movement. There's an idea there that feels like a movement. What that idea is close to being the total opposite of the absolute bullshit you will hear on TV, in books, in magazine articles, in popular history discussions, that the United States of America is a propositional country. It's the first propositional country. Okay. Yeah, maybe it was at one point, but it's not anymore. And it hasn't been for a long time. It's the rejection of the Enlightenment ideas of our founding fathers, which is funny that the proponents of that will always talk about it that way, but never the flip side, which is that no, the American Revolution wasn't about founding a Lockean or Jeffersonian utopia of Enlightenment principles. to so many of the revolutionary generation, the war itself and the establishment of the country was about preserving British liberty. That was Adam's perspective. We are fighting for British liberty. It's liberty that existed before Parliament. It's a liberty that exists for all British people, which the Americans were British. And to this day, by the way, for all you white hyphenated Americans out there who want to say you're German American or you're Irish American or you're Scots Irish and then you don't really understand what that means, pretty much every white person in America who's not from a background of recent immigrants, you're all English Americans. And by the way, the Germans, they colonized England, right? Anglo-Saxon, right? If you're English, you're German. But anyway, they were fighting for British liberty, and the British liberty existed before Parliament. It exists outside of Parliament. It exists in spite of Parliament. And no vote in the House of Lords or the House of Commons or whatever it is can take away those liberties. And because they will not be granted to us, which is what a right is, right? It's an entitlement absent a duty. Because these are being denied to us, we will fight for them. Because nobody would listen to us anyway, so it's time to fight. That's what it was. It's not just propositional out there in the ether. Yeah, they're propositions that are guaranteed as being a British subject. Don't have to have an act of Parliament to have the right to my property. I already have it. You don't need an act of Parliament to say that I have the right to defend myself, right? The right to bear arms is not really the right. It's the right of self-defense. And I already have it. We're saying there can be no law infringing upon it. It's something I already have. I had it as soon as I was born. So that idea, this propositional thing, no, I don't think so. And so many Americans know this because Americans can say, this is the land where I was born. It's the land where my father was born, and my grandfathers were born, and my great-grandfathers were born, and my great-great-grandfathers were born, and my great-great-great-grandfathers were born, and it's the land that they're buried in. My ancestors are not buried in a proposition. They're buried in this land. And it's only nowadays you have people who are too cute by half who want to tell you that, oh no, that idea that you have some right to live in your own homeland, that's passé. That's racist. That's out of touch. When almost all the generations before us, all the way back to Adam, would look at you like you grew a second head if you question that. Yeah, of course it's my land. It's my homeland. It's where I was born. It's where my great-grandparents were born. It's where my children were born. My children were born in a proposition. They were born in this country. Their blood is tied to the land. How crazy do you have to sound, or how crazy do you have to be to question that? But as Americans, we're supposed to think that, no. You just agree to these set of ideas, and then you're an American. Okay, well, so if you're in Japan and you agree to these ideas, that means you're an American too? Of course it doesn't. That's stupid. It really doesn't make any sense. So what you see then is the people against that have a hatred for this country. And it's a hatred that's rooted in hatred of probably their own parents. It's definitely a hatred of God. It's not a Christian idea to think that there shouldn't be countries or borders. The Romans didn't think that way. The medieval French and English didn't think that way. Nobody thinks that way. You have to tell yourself a totally harebrained story to even approach taking it seriously. I mean, you really have to lie to yourself to think that way. It doesn't even go against common sense. It's destructive. So that's the idea that is kind of behind the MAGA thing. And I'm explaining all this. I'm not endorsing, well, I guess I endorsed it a little bit. Maybe endorse it all the way, but even with that being said, people on the other side who can't get their arms around it make a fatal error in that they don't buy into it and they discount the people that do, because how could you believe that? Well, you can discount it all you want. The fact that there are untold millions of Americans who believe that their birthright has been ripped from them and is being ripped from their children. The fact that there are hundreds of millions of Americans who believe that is a fucking problem. And Trump is a symptom of that problem. And however the rest of his term goes with the H-1B visas, the deportations, bombing Latin drug runners in the Pacific or the Atlantic or the Caribbean or any fucking ocean we decide to bomb people in, doesn't matter. The fact that Trump won an election in 2016, in 2024, and everybody knows what happened in 2020, the fact that that happened means that this isn't a problem that's going away. It's a problem that's here to stay. And all the old guard Republicans, the Bushes, like literally the Bush family, the people who were on the Paul Wolfowitz train back in the day, the Samuel Huntington Clash of Civilizations, Francis Fukuyama neocon crowd, they are so gone and so done and so over, they don't even realize it. Or maybe they do, which is why they're lashing out at Tucker Carlson, of all people, who was not a racist. We had Nick Fuentes on. Yeah, he did. Nick also is not the leader of a movement. Nick is the symptom of a movement. And it's not going away. So, an inflection point. The fall of the empire? Nope. I think what we're at is probably something akin to the beginning of an empire. Because all you men out there, when you look at this electoral map and you see that if only men voted, you would win every election that you won. You need to think twice about the so-called principles and ideals of democracy. The people that came up with that word, democracy, the people that came up with the word republic, these forms of government, would be aghast at who gets to vote. And I'm not even talking about women being able to vote. The fact that people who don't own property can vote. Well, I own my car. That's not property. I mean, I guess it's your property. But in the classical sense, that's not understood to be a property qualification for voting. A car can go away. A car can be wrecked. A car will go away. The thing that won't go away, quote Lex Luthor, is the thing that they're not making any more of, which is land. Land as the requirement for voting. Land, because that means you have a stake in the country. And that's what we're talking about, a stake in the country. Not a stake in the proposition, a stake in the country. America is a real place with a real history and with real people, just like Rome was. We're a nation that has an empire. We're not an empire of nations. We're a nation that has an empire. And it's bounded by real geographical features. And this place has a real story behind it. And it has a real future in front of it. And everybody knows that's how it's going. Everybody can feel it. Everybody knows that whatever the MAGA thing is the beginning of is the thing that will win out. Otherwise, there just won't be a country. I talked before about how there's the American dream. Oh, we don't know what that is. Yes, we do. The American dream is that your children will have it better than you did. We know that we don't have that anymore. And we've been told for 20, maybe 30 years that America's in decline. And so now you have people who are adults who have been told their whole lives, and so have been mentally preparing themselves basically their whole lives, that there's going to come a time when they might have to do without. We've already been doing without. You can't buy a house. You can't buy a new car. You can barely buy a used car. You can't buy a small truck. You can't afford to go on vacation. full-time job is defined as being 32 hours a week. Not denigrating anybody that only works 32 hours a week. I'm just saying, if you work 32 hours a week, you can work another 8. And you'd be willing to, because you're going to get paid. I don't care what the job is. We want to work. We want to earn a living. We want to own a home. We want to have health insurance. We want to own our own washers and dryers. We don't want to lease on a car. We want to own the car. We want to save a little for retirement. We want to go on vacations. We want normal things. Hell, you don't even have to take the vacation. I don't even have to own the washer and dryer. I'll go to a laundromat. I just want a full-time job. And I want to be able to buy a house. We're told by the Ben Shapiros and others that, yeah, well, maybe you should just work harder. Motherfucker, I've been working since I was 16. How many guys have that same story? I've been working my whole fucking life. And it's not good enough anymore. And why isn't it good enough anymore? There's an answer. Some people will say it's complicated. Yeah, it is complicated, but the answer is a hard answer, but it's an uncomplicated answer. And the answer is because your country, your homeland, has been taken from you or sold from out beneath of you. And it actually doesn't matter who sold it. We just know that it's ours. And we want it back. We will take it back. One way or another. We will get it back. And just like the founders of this country